Okay, what is this, part 5 of this long expose about the critical race theory cult called Newberg Equity in Education, which has invaded my small hometown of Newberg, Oregon. Been in the press. I've gone through a lot of their criminal activities by this point. You'll have to watch previous video if you want to see all that stuff, or just read the original article, link of course in the video description. Continuing from where I left off, use of the Chehalem Cultural Center to distribute critical race theory propaganda. Chehalem Cultural Center, formerly Central Elementary School that I went to back in the day, has been used by the Need Group to organize and spread their ideologies. Here's David James, and if you don't know who David James is, he is, I believe, also involved in Tigard School District as well as Newberg's. And this is from September 20th of 2020 of last year, where they're doing an equity versus equality presentation. And who is doing it? Of course, it's Bryce Cofield. Bryce Cofield, who is currently Newberg City Council member, who was appointed, I believe, when somebody else resigned. Feel free to watch the absurd video yourself if you like. It's a very long video. I'm not going to play it here, but you'll just see a lot of people in the Need Group who are part of that presentation. When the school district sold the building to Chehalem Park and Recreational District for $1, and the Austin family, the ones who own ADEC here in town, and the state gave funding to repair it, I'm pretty sure it wasn't to spread racist and cultish belief systems, but that's what they're using it for. So here's a list of George Fox University employees who are part of the Mafia. Yes, Mafia here in town. The university has been infiltrated as well by employees who work for it and have access to students, able to indoctrinate them into the cult's ideology as well. These are members of the group who work for George Fox University, which is based in our town. Jenny Elsey, Dean of Student Success and Equity, Title IV Coordinator. Wellesley Jones works somehow at George Fox University. I couldn't figure out exact position. Jillian Contreni Sasko, Director of the School of Communication and Design at George Fox University. Judith Irene Harris works at George Fox University, former middle school principal at Newberg Public Schools. Kathy Gatlin, Adjunct Professor at George Fox University Adult Degree Program and co-founder/partner at Companioning Center. Jerry Witherspoon, Student Care and Student Life Operations Specialist at George Fox University Student Life Department. I've mentioned her a few times in some screenshot of the communications from their private little Facebook group. Cheris Block, I think is how you pronounce his frickin' name. Adjunct Faculty Creation Care Program at George Fox University, as well as the Theology at University of Portland, and also works at Ecumenical, I don't know how to pronounce that word, to be honest, Ecumenical Ministries of Oregon. Okay, and Livia Mai Cerna, Media Production Services at George Fox University, Dual Languages Science Teacher at Mountain View Middle School, and Family Programs Assistant at Coal Creek Family YMCA. And of course, here is their faces, part of the member list for Newberg Equity in Education, i.e. the Need Group. Okay? Showing that they're all members of the group. Yes. Yes, there's little smiling faces there, and all their little nonsense. By the way, George Fox University administrators, here's a nice juicy chat from within the group for you all to enjoy. This was posted talking about education is best when it brings people together to discuss difficult issues. And they're trash-talking, basically, George Fox University. And let's see. Let's go down here a bit, because I think I might have highlighted it specifically. Oh, here we are. Elaine Highworth Koskela, who says, I want to point out one thing I appreciate because it's become a mantra for the alt-right. They took down Chair Brown's colorblind argument and the stupidity surrounding critical race theory. Maybe, just maybe, the board will read it since it's from two powerful white men. Of course, and then Ty Hardin Moore says, I worked at George Fox University for over 3 years. Dr. Baker needs to have a seat, several of them. This place has its own issues with racism and discrimination. So, George Fox University administrators, aren't you glad you helped Ty Hardin Moore gain credibility, using your university's reputation as a platform jump so that she could turn around and trash talk the university for giving her a job? I don't know about you, but I don't think universities ran by sexist racists go about hiring African American women as professors. Given her behavior, I think it's far more likely her bad attitude led to whatever problems she encountered while working at George Fox University that she complains about in the thread. Cherish Bach, I think, again, I don't know how else to pronounce his name, but Cheris, right? Like Cheris, whatever. This fucking dude, in particular, has been a very active member of NEED and its agenda. No doubt in part, thanks to his status at the university, which allowed him to say outright lies to manipulate people. Okay, here is a sign waving event from last May to support Tay Hardin Moore and Inez for their to their campaign. So he's organizing that. Okay, and I have lots of other screenshots of him involved in everything from trying to form the Wall of Moms thing, the de-escalation training that they're talking about doing, which isn't de-escalation at all, and all kinds of other stupid stuff. He's one of the big organizers of the flagpole events there. He's behind all that. So, and of course, they're also letting people know that they've been reported to the police in advance so that they can leave the area because he was, I guess, getting aggressive with other people. So he left the area. There's other screenshots featuring him elsewhere in this article. Newberg churches have been infiltrated. Newberg has long been known for its churches, and unfortunately, this community was mobilized against the town by this organized criminal enterprise. Here's a short list of some church officials I noticed. There's probably more. But here's a short list that I was able to locate who are part of this. Jennifer Maxwell Olson, who's at the Zion Lutheran Church Treasurer and Secretary. She's on the board there. Rochelle Staley, Co-Executive Director at Integrity Home Studies, and also works at Wayside Friends Church. And there's, of course, the proof that they're in the group. Here, of course, is discussion amongst members of the Mafia, the NEED Mafia, infiltrating churches. September 25th, post by Diana Carrison, I think is how you pronounce it. We need to get the churches in our community to work with us to keep our community safe. They're not talking about real safety, though. They're talking about fighting and witch hunting against their neighbors. I have to ask, I do not have any contacts in any local churches. Anyone does, willing to reach out to them. And of course, then people, start making recommendations of various churches that they can get to be part of Black Lives Matter and their political protesting and everything else. Hannah Hetty says, I visited Newberg First United Methodists. They're studying racial equity in book clubs and have a focus on anti-racism, which, if you've gotten to this point of it, you understand is just a code word for critical race theory. So, and they also have a prayer for the high schoolers affected that week. So they're already starting to infect the churches in the area. Members involved with NEED who are veterans. I specifically wanted to single out whoever I saw in the group was specifically a veteran. I only saw one of them in this group. I'm going to call him out. I am appalled by many of the things I have seen in this group, but this sickens me so much, I must specifically call it out. Jay Wolf. He's in here. For me as a veteran, this is a major free speech issue. School board has no business dictating what students and teachers wear and say to express themselves. Literally, the government infringing on the right to free speech and expression. There is no free speech issue except the one that NEED has created by seeking to use criminal activities to undermine a lawful government body, the school board, after they lost control of it in an election for implementing critical race theory in the school system. Per Supreme Court ruling, Hazelwood School District versus Kohlmeyer, public school districts have the right to limit speech on campus when that speech is contrary to the mission and purpose of the public schools. The ruling is quite clear. Public schools do not infringe on First Amendment rights when exercising control over student speech in school-sponsored activities, so long as their actions are reasonably related to legitimate pedagogical concerns. Sorry, I've never pronounced that word before in my life. Not really sure how to pronounce it. Pedagogical. Critical race theory is a racial separatist ideology. I probably should explain what that word even means. That word, it has to do with the learning systems, essentially. So basically the ruling is that as long as their actions are reasonably related to the instruction of students in educational materials, the school board has the right to censor some speech on campus. That's what that ruling means. Critical race theory is a racial separatist ideology designed to trick people into believing they owe a blood debt to others based on ethnicity. Its viewpoints and values are as contrary to shared American values as Nazism is. The public school system is a limited public forum. Its activities must be aligned with its mission to teach children how to become functional contributors to the republic. An ideology that teaches that America is systemically racist and must be dismantled and rebuilt to create racial separatism should never be allowed to be taught inside our public schools. Thus, Black Lives Matter, an organization that advocates for critical race theory, has no place inside our schools, and the flag of this organization has no place inside its walls either. Furthermore, the gay pride flag in its many versions is a political symbol first invented in San Francisco for a movement within the Democratic Party, and to this day it is still a symbol aligned with the Democratic Party. It is also used as a logo for hundreds of political activism nonprofits. In fact, the Need Group uses it for the same purpose in some of its political activist nonprofits, such as the one that's literally called Pride Flag Newberg. These symbols have no business inside our schools. They are not nonpartisan symbols. They are not universal symbols. They are political symbols aligned with very specific political ideologies. And your attempts to use motivated reasoning rhetoric designed to confuse the issue has been undermined by the extremely political activities of your own organization. Jay Wolf, you have forgotten the oath you made when you enlisted. I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, bear true faith and allegiance to the same. Have you lost your damned mind? My criticism in singling you out is not because of a difference in ideology. You have become a member of a racial separatist group engaged in a criminal conspiracy against our democracy! I have no sympathy for you. You have been an active participant in this treasonous group for an entire month. You had access to the same information I had access to for a week, and you did nothing except support them. In fact, you knew exactly what they were. They told you! They told you! You decided to allow an anecdotal story from Guadalupe Martinez Zapata, Vice Chair of the Department of Oregon Education, to back you down. She could have made the entire thing up. This was no reason to turn a blind eye to the activities of a group who are presently doing your active membership of it, using obviously unlawful methods to intimidate elected officials into changing their votes or resigning during the time you are a member of it. You have no excuse. Be ashamed because your behavior is shameful. You had a duty to report. You instead supported them. Jay Wolf, fuck you. I hope that we never meet. Members involved with various political nonprofit groups and other charitable companies. I haven't been able to follow all of the leads yet to see what benefits these people have provided to Need, but I am listing them because they are members. They too had access to the same information I have shown you, and they did nothing except support the conspiracy. Jay Doyle, Leadership Development Program Manager at Basic Rights Oregon. Amy Jensen, Marketing and Events Director at Discover Your Forest. Jessica Baker, Office Manager at Northwest Dyslexia Center. Lynette Goodwin, she works for Love Incorporated Newberg. Gail Porter, Continuing Care Coordinator at Hazel Den Betty Ford Foundation. Crystal Allen, I think is how you pronounce it, Executive Director at Narrow Pro-Choice Oregon. Shocker there. Livia May Cerna, Media Production Services at George Fox University, Dual Languages Science Teacher at Mountain View Middle School and Family Programs Assistant at Coal Creek Family YMCA. Ann Falla, Victims Assistance Advocate at the Confederated Tribes of Grand Road, former executive administrative assistant at Oregon Coalition Against Domestic and Sexual Violence, and former executive director at Henderson House Advocacy Center. Roxanne Wilson, co-founder, president, CEO at Filth Corner Academy. Greg Meanham works at World Coffee Research according to his Facebook. Suzanne Huntington, president, CEO at Boys and Girls Aid. Leanna Smith, director of advancement at Boys and Girls Aid. Polly Peterson, executive director at Downtown Newberg. Shannon Eoff, board member at Newberg Habitat for Humanity and drummer at Tall Dark Whimsy. Proof that they are part of the group. Various posts that they've made showing their active involvement and engagement and that they're part of the conspiracy. Need members and associates who own or work for businesses based in Newberg. These are individuals who own businesses in town, who are participants in Newberg, and as such endorse the activities of the group to harass elected officials in an effort to change their votes or intimidate them into resigning, which, as mentioned before, is illegal. Christy Carley, owner and maker at Wood and Wine. Kat Stoffer, Caravan Coffee. When you can see some of the activities that they've been doing. I think they've been doing recall signatures there. Other businesses in the area were also profiting from the hysteria by selling merchandise and goods for political campaigning. Lawn signs, of course. Social goods selling them for $10 a piece. It's quite a price for selling a piece of plastic that costs about $1 to make at best. Sweatshirts as well sold at Social Grace, or Goods, I guess it's called. Social Goods, as mentioned by Hazel Grace. Okay, here's some more stuff of them. Shannon Beneteau, Pollinate Flowers. Really big part of this is Pollinate Flowers, apparently. Jerry Frankenberger, clinical manager at Providence Health and Services, Oregon region. And here we go. Various licensed professionals who may have breached organizational, state, and federal laws related to their occupations. I haven't looked through the codes for all the professional groups these people belong to and the agencies that supervise their conduct. Those are the members of the state, those that are members of the state bar is an obvious violation, right? If you see unethical stuff like this, you see illegal activity taking place, you have to report this. You're not under any attorney-client privileges with 600 people that are you're part of a group on Facebook. That's outrageous. This guy has broken the state bar code. He had a duty to report this stuff, and he didn't do shit. Other licensed professionals may be in violation of codes, too, for failure to report the conduct of this mafia they joined as a member. Here's Allison Richardson, who's a behavior professional at Oregon Department of Human Services. And Krista Lawless, of course, licensed professional counselor at Ascend Therapy Services, former clinical mental health therapist at the Hope Connection. Okay, lots of FERPA violations in here, and I think that they definitely are involved in the school, clearly. These people should all have they should just be completely prevented from working as professionals in mental health, because they're clearly crazy people, and they don't follow the law. You can see all their talks about everything. Past policy directly impacts safety of trans, whatever. Banning flags does not impact anybody's safety. She's also a member of the Free Mom Hugs group here. Okay, she's hanging out with the Portland leader of the Oregon chapter here, which clearly is not just about hugs. Ryan Howard, of course, attorney in Newberg. Okay, knew about all this stuff. He's been a member of it since September 22nd, 2021. He has had access to the same information I've had. He didn't do anything with it. Megan Samaki, paralegal at Zolikas Law. I'm not sure how she fits into this yet, but I'm still looking down that route. Amy Kopska, marriage and family therapist. Jenny Krakenberg, mental health counselor at Whalesaw Counseling. And here you can see that she says, the police are racist or have unconscious bias based on race because we as a community are founded on racism and have that bias. I'm taking a moment to comment on this. Jenny Krakenberg, that is your real name. You've made the mistake of a circular reasoning and single cause fallacy. Racist beliefs of an individual can be the result of multiple factors that have nothing to do with the culture of a community the individual lives in. Take, for example, all your critical race theory racist nonsense that is not an accurate reflection of the Newberg community and its history, and instead has been imported into this town from elsewhere. Jenny Krakenberg, Krista Lawless, Amy Kopska. How many lives have you ruined with your motivated reasoning while posing as a legitimate health professional? If you can't even identify that your own statements are nonsense, then I doubt that you have ever helped anybody with whatever your brand of counseling is. Any mental health professional who would join a cult like Need is obviously unfit to be licensed as one. Furthermore, the individuals who are members of Oregon's bar should, in my opinion, probably be disbarred for their participation in, refusal to report the criminal information I have seen organized in the group they are a member of. These breaches of the law were obvious to me. They have no excuse for their neglect to report it. Anyone who would like to report these so-called therapists for their unethical behavior as part of a criminal conspiracy against elected officials, which has also broken FERPA multiple times, should inform the Board of Licensed Professional Counselors and Therapists. Oregon wineries and vineyards who support the critical race theory cults. The winery business has had, in my opinion, a very negative impact on Willamette Valley. The value of property has skyrocketed throughout the area, which has priced local residents out of the area. A house that sold for around $200,000 10 years ago now sells for $500,000 or more. The money of the wineries and vineyards is also channeled toward social activism, as demonstrated here by this little post AJ had, where they have a little post here that they've made, but supports Black Lives Matter, and by extension, critical race theory. Now that you've made it this far in my article, you should understand the concept of equity in this framework is actually a stand-in for racial segregation. And of course, you can read the whole statement that they made, supporting all the buzzwords of critical race theory. I'm going to enjoy this part. Outrageous lies against my character said by Nate in a pathetic effort to discredit me. Kim Warrington McDonough, who is the apparently wife of Jeff McDonough, the school counselor at Chehalem Valley Middle School, made a claim about me within the group that I would like to take the time to address as relevant to what the group does to detractors. Here's the entire thread. Okay, it says, "Oh my God, it's the troll who's harassing Ty." This is in response to me being in the public comments on September 22nd of the school board, where I called Tay out for her involvement in the Need group as well, although they didn't seem to realize that I was specifically calling them out. Anyway, they mention my name right here. They claim that they have a great case for slander and harassment, which they don't. You have no case. Kim Warrington, who I have no idea who this fucking person is, Carrie Martell used to attend Newberg schools. He stalked a female student camping outside her house, tailing her, leaving dead flowers, leaving messages about guns, threatening her. Family ended up needing police involvement to get the harassment and stalking to stop. Looks like he was unhinged then, is unhinged now. And they say a bunch of nonsense related to this. Say, if you need financial support dealing with us, please ask. We'll give you money for legal help, guys. Okay? And they just like go on and on and on about me. Of course, everything that she said is an absurd lie. I have thought deeply about this, and I have no idea who Kim is, aside from being the wife of Jeff. I also have no idea what she's even talking about. I have never stalked anyone in my entire life. I've certainly never camped outside of anyone's house to do so. I've never left dead flowers anywhere. I genuinely haven't a clue what she could possibly be talking about, and I think neither does she. I can only assume her motivations to invent such an absurd lie is a sad attempt to defend the honor of her husband, Jeff McDonough, who very badly lost a public debate with me, which I wrote a previous article about. See, I have a previous article where I basically showed him losing a debate with me very badly. And prior to Kim writing these lies in the group, I knew nothing else about her. I suspect her lie is a pathetic effort to discredit my character so that people will stop reading my articles that threaten to expose the criminal mafia cult she belongs to. If what she said wasn't so absurd, that I think no sane person would believe it, I'd sue her for libel. Admittedly, I do find it amusing how they were so terrified of me. None of them can defeat me in a debate about their own belief system and how absurd the whole thing is. I wonder how they feel about me now. I expect they will invent more unusual and absurd lies in a sad attempt to distract from the evidence I have provided in this article about their cults and its activities. Furthermore, Kim was a participant of the harassment of elected board officials, including searching for info on what churches they go to. Again, Kim Warrington. Does anyone know what churches Dave Brown, Renee Powell, Brian Shin, and Trevor DeHart attend? And then Elaine Koskela comes in and says Dave Brown goes to such and such. I'm not going to say it because, this is unethical bullshit. I think the only logical explanation for what Kim said about me is that this Kim person is a pathological liar, and the Need Group seems to attract them, and they feed off each other's insanity, hysteria, and nonsense. So who are you going to believe? Me, with overwhelming evidence of the crimes and conspiracy against residents of Newberg who resist their evil activities, or Kim, who has no evidence, never will have evidence because it never fucking happened, and who also engages in criminal conduct while virtue signaling about how amazing she thinks she is in a sad effort to earn likes on her social media posts. Tell me, does anything I have exposed about this group feel like it is rooted in love, or does it look rooted in hate? I think the answer is hate, and it is an obvious conclusion when the facts are brought to light. I won't deny I harbor some hatred for these people now, having seen the extremes they will go to destroy my hometown for their personal vainglory. But my motivations for exposing them does not change the evidence here and what they have done. Here's another thread about me in the Need Group. Like anybody fucking cares, but just pointing this out. This is about me calling the chairman Dave Brown. Yes, I called the school board chairman Dave Brown during my investigation. That's what reporters do when investigating school boards. I didn't realize there was a school board meeting occurring at the time, as unlike the members of Need, my life does not revolve around school board meetings. No, I don't know Dave Brown's son. Yes, I spoke with residents at the counter-protest rally to gather some of the information presented in this report. Saying I don't live in this state is rather inaccurate. I have multiple residences. I've been back in the area for at least a year now. There is no information in a school yearbook from 20 years ago that will help you today. This is in reference to them looking through old school books, school yearbooks, trying to find some dirt on me. There's nothing in a school yearbook. It seems like I shouldn't even have to say this. Like, there's nothing about my past that is going to help you guys in your present. You're fucked by your own misdeeds. This has worked out, though, as it led the Need Group to get so flustered they did what they do. Speculate, spread false rumors, and create hysteria to feed on, which I can now showcase to you. As far as I'm concerned, this Need Group is a hate group. They hate Newberg and its citizens and think themselves so righteous they can break the laws and deceive others to gain power over the city. I stood in the way of that by just calling them out, and so they wish to discredit me with lies. As they are cowards, they don't know how to do anything but lie. They lack the wit to reply to my claims. Lying is what moronic cowards do. Lies are not the tool of the genuine intellectual. Lies are a netted web the liar gets caught up in when they are backed into a corner by truth. Evidence of collusion from surrounding cities and interference in Newberg politics. These are the people who are using their political positions to virtue signal publicly while actually engaging in a criminal enterprise conspiracy that violates multiple federal and state laws as previously explained. Meghan Corvis, president at Law Water Co-op, Gaston, Oregon, and of course the Yamhill Democrats. Remy Drabkin, McVinville City Council president, owner of Remy Wines, and Courtney Neron, Oregon State Representative and a Democrat. Here's proof that they're in the groups. Courtney Neron here, okay? Here's proof of who she is. And here's some posts that she's made within the group. Here's one where she's, talking about Tigard. And this is my personal favorite here. This is my personal favorite. This is a post from Melanie Walker Middledenberger just yesterday. It says, I just listened to the excellent KBOO interview with Remy Drabkin, and something Remy said is stuck in my craw. Did Shannon knowingly violate Oregon public meeting laws because he knew there would be no punitive response to the violation? Given his relationship with Smith, likely receiving guidance from the national legal team, Save Our Schools, think it's reasonable to assume he knew after was doing, blah, blah, blah. Here's the important part. Meghan Corvis tags Courtney Neron in it, and she decides to say, I am absolutely working on policy relative to this topic. Ooh, you are you? You're telling the secret Mafia group about with policies that you're working? Why are you doing that, Courtney Neron? Oh, she says, the support from this group will be crucial when we are finally able to bring legislation forward in 2022, short, and 2023 law and sessions. Oh, will you? Huh? Yeah, I don't think this group will be very crucial at all for that. Soon-to-be former state representative, Courtney Neron. Here's Meghan Corvis. I've already showed so many posts from Meghan Corvis, I didn't feel the need to highlight any further posts about her. Remy Drabkin, of course, and seeing, this is where she is from McVinville. And here's some of these little photos. Here, don't you love this little cute thing here of her little grape yard here, right? Doing this little stupid dance like she's a fucking leprechaun into the air. Lovely, lovely, guys. Her virtue signaling on KBO, community radio. Yeah, well, we'll see how well this works out for you now. Now that it's been known that you're part of a criminal conspiracy, Remy Drabkin, interfering and, of course, asking people to contribute to the ACLU lawsuit, okay, so that the group can use this to intimidate the school board members into changing their votes. Here's something, August 20th. This is huge. Litigation likely to be filed. Well, what the fuck do you have to do with this, Remy Drabkin? You don't even live in Newberg. You're in fucking McVinville City Council. Why are you fucking involved with this nonsense? Well, because she's part of a conspiracy, guys, okay? This is actually a larger conspiracy, and I will weed it out. We'll get to that after this comes out, but one step at a time, okay? More posts from Remy Drabkin. Please let me know when you file the complaint. I'll be adding bulletin points about the specific ethic violations later. So here she is telling people in need what to say to file their complaints. And, of course, ordering 100 Black Lives Matter small flags that you can come and get from her winery tomorrow. And, of course, Pollinate is also having the flags available. People can come buy from them. And just lots and lots more. I'll just file complaints against everybody, okay? Sure looks like the residents of McVinville need to take a closer look at their own city council. If this is what Remy Drabkin is involved with in Newberg, it wouldn't surprise me what's happening in the shadows of the city she actually is in. These are people with connections to the schools and surrounding areas who are interfering as part of this neat mafia. Kate Kelty Kelleher, former teacher, school counselor at Sherwood School District. Katie Fonts McKee, teacher at Tigard High School. Liz Fodge, bilingual third-grade teacher at Lincoln. Kayla Versman, instructional assistant at Beaverton School District. I'm sure there's more. I just didn't fill it out. In fact, for some inexplicable reason, the Facebook page for the Portland Association of Teachers, a union, is a member of this group too. Now, I'm no expert, but I would imagine that the involvement of an entire school union from another town into the political activities of an organization in an entirely different town that has nothing to do with the Portland schools is a violation of something, and further evidence of the abuse of unions to create a criminal enterprise to intimidate public officials into voting certain ways in the state of Oregon. I mean, I can only assume it's a union because that's what they say on their website. They say that they're the teachers union, so I'm just assuming. I'll just have to take them at their face value for who and what they say they are. Because I don't live in Portland. I don't know who the fuck the teacher union is. I'm just going by what they say on their website. Melissa Goff, the recently fired Albany school superintendent who endorsed teaching critical race theory, is also a member of the Newberg Equity and Education Group Mafia as well. And she's praised by its members as a martyr. See, here she is in the group. Here's all the lovely things that they're saying about her in it. They love her so much. Lupita's the vice chair of the Oregon Board of Education says, as in the Melissa Goff. Oh, the Melissa Goff. She's so famous, guys. I'm sitting in the presence of greatness, is what she says. Welcome. Thank you for being here, and mostly thank you for fighting the great fight. Standing up to the institutional bullies with all that courage. Yes. Lovely, guys, isn't it? What a wonderful, loving mafia we've created. Members of the press who are part of the mafia. These people have made severe violations of journalistic ethical codes of conduct by participating in this group and not reporting the illegal activity within it. I think nothing printed in their publications should ever be believed to be journalism ever again. Bonnie Keene, publisher at SalemNews.com, worked at Statesman's Journal as well. Here she is. She's been a member. And let's see, Tyler Frankel, Community and Media Relations Coordinator at Oregon Department of Veterans Affairs, and editor at the Can Be Current. Yes, Can Be Current. He's got his little, Antifa face mask on here. Wonderful. And he's part of it. Andrew Selsky, as I mentioned before, lists his occupation as a correspondent for the Associated Press, and wrote an article about the group, actually. And he's a member of the group. Yes, wonderful, huh? Wrote this news report, Oregon School Board ban anti-racist LGBT sign ire. He wrote it while he's a member of the group. Absolutely bonkers, isn't it? Seems a major conflict of interest and violation of ethical codes of journalism to be a member of a group you are reporting on without disclosing that information, doesn't it? I don't have anywhere else to put her, so I'm just going to include New York Times bestselling author Kelly Williams Brown here as well, because she's a participant of this madness. Her books, Adulting and Graciousness, are unreasonably popular. And here she is in the group, okay? Here she is in the group. See, Newberg Equity and Education. There she is. Works at Penguin Random House. And there you go. I tell you guys, the rabbit hole just keeps on going. Evidence of out-of-area political interference in local Newberg politics organized by Tay Hardin-Moore and her supporters. There has been a general feeling expressed by some Newberg residents that people from California have been moving to our small town, attempting to take it over, using their influence and wealth brought from outside of our town. I believe there is some evidence to support this belief. According to a source, Hollywood film cinematographer Matthew Moriarty, whose Internet Movie Database credits are here, he's worked on a lot of stuff, his family are a supporter of Tay Hardin-Moore's social activism in Oregon. According to another source, his wife is Ingrid Moriarty, who is a very active member of Tay Hardin-Moore's social activism. See, she's a member right here. Does seem to be the case to me. Found lots of posts of her involved in all this. According to this post, Ingrid is among those who met with Alexandria Cortez when she flew into Newberg as part of a political stunt. I see I have a typo there. It says Alexander Cortez. We wouldn't want to misgender Miss Cortez, would we? No. Alexander Cortez. It should actually be Alexandria. We will fix that because we don't want to misgender anybody. Okay. She flew into Newberg as part of a political stunt, I think about a month ago. Let's see. Kristen Stollers with Ingrid Franz Moriarty. The universe delivered the AOC, guys, the Alexandria Cortez, to the parking spot in front of CVDA today, in the middle of this fight for our community voice to be heard by the Newberg School Board, the most fierce leader for equity, accountability, and for empowering diverse populations walked up. She is an icon, fearless and unafraid. I strive to lead like her, and today I got to meet her, ask her if she would help our little town. Amazing. And who did she meet with? Oh, yeah, she met with Ingrid Moriarty. That's who she met with. Met her with, I should say. And they got, of course, they got the photo op and everything. Yeah? Unmistakably a request for aid from a politician who does not represent nor have any jurisdiction over the affairs of our town, requesting for resources and aid. Blatant and obvious effort to pressure the residents of our town to make choices that are not reflective of the opinions and views of the residents of Newberg. I feel that these people have moved to our city because of the wine tourism, and they do not care at all about its history and the other residents. This is why they are so willing to throw the entire town, its long century-plus history, under the bus in the national spotlight. They don't give a fuck about the local residents. While I am absolutely not opposed to anyone moving to Newberg, I do not think it is malicious. I do think it is malicious to move to a town and then expect the community to bend and bow to your every will according to values you import from other places, especially places that have the enormous social problems like Los Angeles and San Francisco, California, Portland, Oregon, and so on. These social problems, widespread poverty, vagrancy, drug abuse, crime, simply have never existed at any significant level in this town's entire history. We've never had people picketing our main streets with signs accusing the town of being ruled by white supremacists and politicians flying in from the other side of the country for a rally as part of a political circus show. This fringe cult of actual racists desire to take over the town. Residents of Newberg should ask themselves if they are going to allow this to happen. I say that we do not. I say that we wholly reject their rhetoric and goals, and we recall our mayor, Rick Rogers, who endorses their activities to the degree he participates in their rallies. Why the Newberg Mafia is an actual mafia, per Rico. I have previously shown the coordinated harassment and coercion that the Need Mafia is organizing against school board members such as Dave Brown, Brian Shannon, and Renee Powell in a desire to force them to resign or change their votes. Now let's talk about how this, when all the evidence I've shown so far is also considered, makes this so much more. I'm willing to go on record to suggest everything I've shown so far is evidence for violations of the Racketeering Influence and Corrupt Organizations Act, specifically created to arrest members of mafias. Let me explain my reasoning. According to CRM 101-199, it's unlawful for anyone employed by or associated with any enterprise engaged in with activities of which affect interstate which affect interstate or foreign commerce to conduct or participate directly or indirectly in the conduct of such enterprise affairs through a pattern of racketeering activity. Or be found guilty of violating the RICO statute, the government must prove beyond a reasonable doubt that an enterprise existed, that the enterprise affected interstate commerce, that the defendant was associated with or employed by the enterprise, that the defendant engaged in a pattern of racketeering activity. Pattern. That's what I've established here. Pattern of racketeering activity. And that the defendant conducted or participated in the conduct of the enterprise through that pattern of racketeering activity through the commission of at least 2 acts of racketeering activity. An enterprise is defined as including any individual, partnership, corporation, association, or other legal entity, or any union or group of individuals associated, in fact, although not a legal entity. The courts have held that due to the Commerce Clause, any act of commerce applies for creating a RICO case. It does not require the commerce acts involving interstate transactions or travel. Commerce need only be impacted slightly or de minimis, legal term. The important thing is the racketeering, okay? Which in this case is extortion by fear against businesses that employ or have financial relationships with Newberg School Board members. Part of the U.S. Code, interference with commerce by threats or violence. Whoever in any way or degree obstructs or affects commerce by extortion or attempts or conspires so to do. The term robbery means the unlawful taking or obtaining of personal property from the person by means of fear or injury to his person or property in his custody or possession, or the person or property of a relative or member of his family, or anyone in his company at the time of the taking or obtaining. The term extortion means the obtaining of property from another, induced by wrongful use of actual fear. The term commerce means commerce, or any territory or possession of the United States, all commerce between any point in a state. A lot of legalese here. Let me explain this very simply to you. Commerce, due to the Commerce Clause, just means any time money is involved. since money is the exclusive property of the federal government in America. It's a long-winded legalese way of saying any crime involving a financial or monetary component. The definitions of robbery or extortion could be applicable either way in this case, but extortion is most likely what the feds will go with, I assume. Not that the word obtain in this context of how RICO law is used just means removed from, note. It says not, but that's not what I meant. It's note that the word. Sorry. Gotta make a note to fix that. Note that the word obtain in this context of how RICO law is used just means removed from someone else. It doesn't mean they have to get his money or property for it to be applicable. They do not. They simply have to deprive him of what he would have had if they had not engaged in any unlawful content, such as their organized intimidation against the elected official due to his voting. Normally, cancel culture tactics can be considered legal if done under certain circumstances. For example, a journalist reporting editorial, such as this one, is not considered illegal because I'm reporting on a matter of public interest. If someone else loses their job because of my report, it's not my legal fault, because my goal is to report truth. And if they cannot be employed when true facts are known, that's on them, not me. This situation is different. This is coordinated harassment and intimidation campaign by a teacher union and their supporters against an elected public official to coerce him or her into changing the votes or to resign from elected position, and what, due to their role as a school board member, also impacts their job. They are harassing them because they voted a certain way. That's illegal. I am reporting people for the crimes they have committed. Our democratic process can't endure if this was the normal political campaigning behavior for unions. As an example of the consequences of the Need Group's illegal activity, school board member Brian Shannon lost his job, and school board member Renee Powell had her merchandise removed from a winery showroom store, which negatively impacts their finances. That's interference with commerce. When members of Need learned Powell's relationship had ended with the winery via extortion by fear, members rewarded that winery with patronage. Again, bringing up this, I had shown previously in the article. Okay, they celebrate her having her stuff removed, and they say that, guess we'll have to go to the wine tasting there, show our appreciation. Time to find their Facebook page, time to make reservations, time to buy their wine, guys. This is organized extortion by fear using an actual labor union, the teachers union, which is what RICO was designed to deal with, organized crime within labor unions. And that when the extortion is successful, the members then literally say they will now provide money, patronage, to the business for having ended ties to the public official. I believe this is a clear case where RICO has been violated. Here's another thread in the Need group that shows the Need members are responsible for the ending of the business relationship between an elected official and a private company using extortion by fear. Okay, here's all their comments. This is the response to an email where Bill and Sandy ended the relationship with Renee Powell due to the intimidation. Okay. Catherine Villalobos Barnett says, yes, please support Potter's Vineyard. Sandy works in education as a special ed. Already an underappreciated job for sure, and now this. And their Chardonnay and Sparkling Rose make my summer fantastic. That's right. Support them. How do you support them? By buying their stuff. Buy their stuff now that they ended a business relationship, guys. Looks like their website says the Summer of Her Art is at the Allison as well. Let's harass the Allison. Yeah. Also on their website is the About location, a long list of other locations. Said Gabby Heinevene, I think is how you pronounce her name. Seth Renee says, so where is Potter's Vineyard? So they can go there and buy stuff from them. Yes, of course. Last week she had Potter's Vineyard listed, now it's gone. And Shyla Jasper said, I wonder if she took them down so we can't call locations her art's at, so we can't harass them. Someone says, anyone remember where they were? Shyla Jasper says, for sure the Allison. And Shyla also says chapters, and there's another coffee shop. And I'll kindly ask them to not display any of Renee's art. Oh, kindly will you? Kindly as part of a mob, you'll ask them. I'm sure. Such a kind way to intimidate business owners. Yes. Shyla says, but knew if the Rogers knew, it would take down. Angela Stutzman says, this is amazing. Yeah. And Jessica Heine says, I want to go try them now. What a cool response to an awful situation. Try them now, meaning buy their products. Chris Smith says, this is awesome. And Ava Martin says, I think wine is disgusting, but I'm totally buying Potter's Vineyard wines as Christmas gifts. Yes, totally. Because they helped with the extortion, intimidation, of fear of an elected official. Now I'll buy your products. That is mafia shit, guys. Gwyneth Olmsted says, I'm going to buy as much wine as I can afford as soon as I got the chance. And then Caitlin Shockley says this is consequence culture. No, this is just illegal mafia bullshit, and I hope you all go to jail. Melinda Ryder Olson Simmons says, I just sent an email to Coffee Cottage for displaying her art. I'm a former employee and obsessed customer, and I'll update if anything happens, if we are successful to intimidate all the businesses. Of course, this is follow-up stuff here. Jay Witherspoon said, Elaine and I went to Potter's Vineyard today, told the owners we came because they value equity, equality, acceptance, and diversity. We didn't mention anything specific. So they said, but obviously they're sharing this in the group because they removed her artwork from the showroom. Now you went there to go buy their products to basically reward them for doing the behavior, the illegal behavior we wanted them to do. More comments. There's lots and lots of comments, guys, of all this stuff. Make no mistake, the business owners' stated feelings to the need members about why they ended the relationship doesn't change that the need members go in informing the winery and other businesses which Powell had a relationship was in a desire to imply if you don't remove the products, won't buy your items and may start other harassment against you like we are doing to Powell. They threatened them with a boycott, which is illegal. There is nothing in the need group communications that implies they wouldn't harass and boycott a company that refused to remove Powell's products in retaliation for a vote going away they didn't like. After all, they are harassing the board members. If they're willing to organize harassment of an elected official, who won't they harass? Besides, I was able to obtain the actual emails between the winery showroom owner and Powell that shows it was due to intimidation and fear that the merchandise was removed. Here's the emails right here. Renee, so sorry this is happening to you. For now, can you please remove the Potter's Vineyard from your website as a place you are selling your art for now? I am also going to just take down your art for now until things calm down. No need for you to pick it up. I believe in you, but just taking these measures for my customers. Thank you. So, there's more email communications you can read here. As you can see, the owner of the showroom has given fear and intimidation by the need mob, the reason she removed Powell's merchandise. I believe this is sufficient evidence to show the need group is in fact a mafia that used organized intimidation to create fear to harass an elected official, and then as an organized group, they financially rewarded the business for ending ties with the elected official. That meets the federal law requirement for extortion and coercion, and this is one of the requirements for RICO. The need group's membership consists of an actual labor union using intimidation to influence and pressure politicians through coercion and intimidation of other businesses to sever ties. Then the group gives financial rewards for ending those ties. That's what the mafia did, and it's illegal. Therefore, I believe it's correct to call Need a mafia and claim it has violated RICO. As an aside, within their member list is Kim Biddy Heater, who is the current HR director for the Allison, whereas discussed by the Need Mafia, the school board director Renee Powell has or had merchandise. Need Mafia has sought to have Powell's relationship with the Allison ended too. There's proof that she works at the Allison. Now, personally, after spending many hours reading through their messages and screenshotting almost all of them, by the way, about the harassment of elected officials, I believe the motivation of the Need Mafia group is to pressure the targets of their harassment to resign from the school board so their preferred candidates, such as Ty Hart and Moore, can take office. Then they will be able to have full control over the town, as presently they already have members making up most of the Newberg city government and have several members on the school board already, Pyros, Anais, and Penner. The Need Mafia cult takeover of the town of Newberg will be complete if they can get Renee Powell, Brian Shannon, and Dave Brown, as well as Trevor DeHart, to resign from the school board through intimidation tactics. I can prove this with their own postings from when Ty Hart and Moore ran for office. The Need group collectively chose to support her, just as they did other candidates for government positions in Newberg, such as Bryce Cofield. I have shared those screenshots of their communications previously in this article. The group desperately wants to control the town of Newberg, and the members of the group are eager to prove their loyalty by doing whatever is necessary to be part of this takeover. In fact, they are so desperate to prove this loyalty, anytime one of the leaders makes a request, no matter how absurd, they jump at it. Case in point, when Lydia Cooler, who is married to the senior accountant for the city of Newberg. Sorry, that's another typo I've got there. I got to fix. Senior account. Married to the senior accountant for the city of Newberg. An admin of the group asked for them to spam report me now, Carrie Martell, my previous article exposing Tehard and more. They go to great lengths to virtue signal and prove their loyalty. Lydia Cooler, September 22nd. Action item. Action item for the whole group, guys. For anyone in this group, please find the post about Ty and report it to Facebook. I know a lot of you have reported to the admin, but clearly they're not going to take it down. Here they all admit that they're trying to take it down. And then she says, thank you for doing this, everybody. This, of course, is their most fatal flaw as an organized criminal group. These declarations of loyalty by members of the group is what allows their crimes to become a RICO case. RICO allows all members in an organization to be penalized for the criminal actions of any other member of the group. If you can be proven to be loyal to the Mafia group, you are subject to penalties under RICO. These guys are just incredibly dumber than past gangsters for organizing their racketeering on fricking Facebook, where the evidence can be easily recovered. Also, the group is used to promote businesses such as Social Goods and the Pollinate Flower Shop, as I've shown here. Okay? As the group is literally part of the union and is engaged in political activity, I am sure the group also being used to sell commercial services and products is illegal. The feds will need to piece together how this all fits together, though. The group is a criminal conspiracy under Oregon law. I believe the Need Group members' activity is also illegal under Oregon Statute 161.450, criminal conspiracy. A person is guilty of criminal conspiracy if with the intent that conduct constituting a crime punishable as a felony or Class A misdemeanor be performed. The person agrees with one or more persons to engage in or cause the performance of such conduct. Criminal conspiracy is a Class A felony. If it's part of a murder treason, this could possibly be treason. A Class B felony if an object of the conspiracy is commission of a Class B felony. Class C if it's object of the conspiracy is commission of Class C felony. Class A misdemeanor, yada, yada, yada. As I mentioned before, there's lots of different crimes at stake here, so at least some of these have got to be warrant a criminal conspiracy. And now you understand why I listed so many crimes and spent so much time establishing all of that evidence. Nail them as a criminal conspiracy under Oregon statute laws if you can't nail them under RICO. It's going to be one or the other, maybe even both. Here's a list of the Mafia leaders' actions that I believe makes the activities of the Need Group a criminal conspiracy. Actions of Oregon Board of Education Director Guadalupe Martinez Zapata, how it influences the actions of other members in the group. Violations of Oregon Statute 260.432, solicitation of public employees acting in her official capacity to influence other public employees under her jurisdiction to take certain political actions, including signing and promoting recall election, endorsement of a PAC activities, and so on. Violation of Oregon Statute 182.30. On just a second, I noticed another problem. PAC activates. PAC activities. Come on, Carrie. Spell things right. Violations of Oregon Statute 182.030. Employment of persons advocating violent overthrow of the government of the United States or Oregon prohibited. Her critical race theory ideology statements about needing to dismantle the American government and rebuild it into a racist society, that's an obvious violation, okay? Violation of Oregon Statute 260.532, false publication relating to candidate or measure, accusing Newberg School Board members of violating the law with their ban on political symbols, using this to encourage a recall election on them. Violation 162.415, official misconduct in the first degree as a result of all of the above stuff. She's also guilty of that. Moving on. The actions of every Newberg School faculty member who is a member of need in its activities. Violation of 162.415. Official misconduct in the first degree. Obtaining special benefits by carrying out the requests of Oregon Board of Education Director Guadalupe Martinez Zapata to sign a recall ballot, encourage others to do so, organized via a group whose activities overlap with their duties as a public employee of the municipal corporation the school district is organized under, as the teacher union is deeply involved in organizing the group and distributing its messages. Oregon Statute 260.432, solicitation of public employees, using the need group to organize the promotion of a political committee, using school property during work hours, and even using the students as props for this promotion of the teacher's illegal political activism. As a note, based on this alone, I believe the Newberg School Board should do everything within legal power to end the Newberg School District's relationship with the Newberg Education Association teacher union, because it is, in my opinion, a criminal enterprise due to its widespread membership participation in need, its illegal activities. I do not see how such a criminal enterprise could possibly bargain in good faith with the school district. It is willing to go to such criminal lengths to harass and attack when school board decisions are not to the membership's liking. Sorry, I'm going to fix a typo here. The actions of Newberg High School Principal Tammy Arian, other Newberg High School administrators, and Newberg School District Superintendent Joe Morlock. Violations of the Family Education Rights and Privacy Act, public release of information about the so-called Snapchat slave trade incident, whose release violated student privacy rights because the incident was not a crime and therefore not of public interest to discuss with the public. I also believe the response may have been released to the public the way it was so that need could leverage the school's acknowledgement of the incident so it could be mischaracterized as proof of white supremacy in the Newberg schools to justify the changes they want to make to its curriculum in teaching critical race theory, and the political activities of the need group to recall school board members opposed to their agenda. They placed the student into a situation where the only way the student could dispute the accusation he is a white supremacist is by coming forward and becoming a further target of public ridicule. This is a gross injustice. I think the Newberg School Board should move to terminate all involved administrators in the decision to release the public statement. The actions of Ty Hart and Moore and how it influences other members of the group. Violations of Oregon Statute 166.155, bias crime in the second degree, and her encouragement of others to commit the same, theft of political campaign signs because she believes white candidates should not run for office. Violations of Oregon Statute 260.532, false publication related to candidate or measure, claiming the Snapchat incident was proof of widespread racism in town and resulted from the board decision vote to remove political flags from the campus when she knew it was not related nor evidence of widespread racism in Newberg. Violation of Oregon Statute 260.555, prohibitions related to circulation, filing, or certification of initiative, referendum, or recall petition, convincing people to sign a recall petition while lying about the Snapchat incident as proof that Brian Shannon should be recalled. Oregon Statute 166.023, disorderly conduct in the first degree, creating alarm in the public with knowingly false statements designed to cause alarm, panic, and hysteria. The actions of the collective need group to get Brian Shannon and Renee Powell terminated from jobs and or loss of business as a means of intimidation to vote a certain way or resign from office. Violations of 9.15.020, obstructing government administration. Violations of Oregon Statute 162.233H. Violations of Oregon Statute 260.665, undue influence to affect registrations, voting candidacy, signing petitions. Violations of Oregon Statute 163.275, coercion, harassment, and threatening businesses and employers associated with board members, church groups, etc. in an effort to intimidate the board members into changing their votes or resign. The failure of every member of need to report any of this wrongdoing is itself a crime. 18 U.S. Code, misprision I've never in my life had to say this word. Misprision of felony. Whoever, having knowledge of the actual commission of a felony, cognizable by a court of the United States, conceals and does not as soon as possible make known the same to some judge or other person in civil or military authority under the United States shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 3 years or both. Conclusion of the consideration of wrongdoing. When the activity of the group leaders and the lay members together as a collective are reviewed, it becomes plainly evident that the Need Group is a criminal conspiracy under Oregon law, and as mentioned before, I think it may be a case of RICO too. How did I get all this information so quickly? By now you're probably wondering, hey Carrie, how the heck did you get all this information about what's happened in Newberg so fast? You've only been talking about this problem for a week. Truth be told, this information was super easy to obtain because lots of people in town know what's going on. Within less than 24 hours of becoming aware of this need group, I was able to get inside of it and locate their entire member list. Then I spent about 48 hours piecing together all the information you see here, creating a spreadsheet of who these people are so I can make note of key individuals and track relationships. Writing this article took me several additional days. I'd love to tell you precisely why Ryan Clark was unable to do the same investigation for the residents of Newberg, but I don't know the answer. I personally think he's a propagandist, and even if he may not have been aware of all of this information, I have been told by others he knew about some of it because they reported it to him. All I had to do was be willing to stand up and speak the truth, and many people in town came forward with evidence of wrongdoing. Then I just followed the trail the evidence led to, and behold, this article practically wrote itself. The real question related to Ryan Clark is why he hasn't been telling the truth in his articles when he quotes Ty Hardin Moore as merely a concerned parent, when she appears to actually be a leader in an organized criminal gang, interfering with our city politics using deception, intimidation, and possibly other crimes. I think that is a good question. You should ask his bosses at Pamphlet Media Group, where you can contact by that page link right here. Be sure to send them a copy of all of my articles, especially this one, when you ask why Ryan Clark hasn't reported on any of these things. If you get a response back from his bosses, I would love to know what it is. Make sure you send them a copy of the lovely screenshot as well, because it did not date well. Ryan Clark said to me, "Listen, buddy, I'm not going to get in whatever you imagine to be a debate with you because you clearly get off on the attention. So don't bother trying to drag me into something that won't get you anywhere and will just end up as a screenshot on your blog where you imagine yourself to be blowing open some grand conspiracy. You don't know the first thing about how journalism works, and it isn't propaganda just because the facts of a situation conflict with your worldview." So I'm trying hard not to laugh here. I don't know what compels you to continue engaging in this bizarre online harassment campaign of Ty, Aaron, and others, but you need to stop, grow up. Nobody in this town cares about your rambling manifestos. The people in Newberg are smart enough to discern the facts of what has been going on in the community from whatever all this is. Ryan Clark, I didn't imagine a conspiracy. There is a conspiracy, and I have exposed it. I have done the job you have failed miserably to do. You talk down to me, but you and I are not equals. I am your intellectual and moral superior as far as journalism goes, and you will never disrespect me ever again without a painful reminder of this fact. I believe the Newberg Graphic and Pamphlet Media Group owe the residents of this town an enormous apology and a retraction of every news story that falsely paints Newberg as a town of white supremacists. The only evidence for racists in Newberg is the evidence I provide in this article that proves the actual racists are the ones led by Ty Hardin Moore as participants in her critical race theory mafia. Almost every one of these people moved to Newberg in the past 10 years. They are not the product of this town's community and culture. They came to Newberg from other areas and brought their bad ideas with them. Now, many people seem to think I'm angry in my past writings. No, I wasn't genuinely angry then. I'm furious now, though, after having spent the past 2 weeks going through all of the conspiracy documentation. Ryan Clark, I suggest you find a new profession, because journalism clearly is not suited for you. I had to involve myself in this matter because you didn't do your job. How was this cultist mafia able to gain any power in Newberg? I believe the cultural zeitgeist, trends of present-day American culture has been exploited to create this cultish criminal enterprise in our town. The strong tendency of left-leaning liberals to virtue signal and focus on trivial nonsense they can share on social media websites like Facebook, instead of addressing legitimate social problems that are difficult to solve. And the decline of genuine progressive values has been directed toward indoctrinating Democrats into critical race theory and all the names it is taught under, transforms these people into cult members using a series of role-playing exercises that are being taught in academia. Critical race theory relies heavily on motivated reasoning and indoctrinating people into the belief that logic and science are racist belief systems used to disempower minorities, and so these people never seek to employ it. The situation is made worse because our colleges are used as the cult indoctrination centers, as the college students must perform the role-playing exercises and learn the material in order to graduate from classes. This results in a high number of college graduates being indoctrinated into the cult to such a degree they don't even know how to use logic anymore in their own professions. Thus, they are cult members, indoctrinated into a framework that relies on motivated reasoning, as I have written at length in my articles about. These people then join other critical race theory affiliated social activism groups, like this NEED group, wherever they move to. Many people from outside of Newberg have moved to the area to either work at the wineries, form new vineyards, or work in the schools. They have brought their cultish ideas with them and spread them, and it makes it easy for them to organize a criminal enterprise when they are led by someone such as Ty Moore, who does presentations in town with the city of Newberg blessing on why people must switch from being allies to accomplices, using a framework that says American democracy is unjust and must be toppled. When a person believes one impossible thing, they can be easily led to believe in other equally impossible things that utilize similar fallacious reasoning. This is why I stress the importance of returning to teach the common humanity approach in our school system and to teach logic and rhetoric to kids at an early age so children stop growing up to become victims of cult leaders like Ty Moore and others who infiltrated our school system. We need to take back our education system so that it works for America again, instead of being used to poison people against America. As demonstrated by the actions of the teachers and their indoctrination of children into the ideology of critical race theory, it is obvious we're not teaching the students logic and rhetoric anymore. They are instead being taught motivated reasoning, and that makes them susceptible to becoming exploited by groups like Black Lives Matter. They think they have learned critical thinking skills, and they have not. At the very least, tax dollars spent on education are being wasted to teach kids material that does not benefit their lives nor help the republic maintain stability. How are these kids supposed to grow up and take over the operation of our republic if they all believe our republic is evil and needs to be dismantled into a black separatist paradise, and they reject logic and science while mistakenly believing their motivated reasoning are critical thinking and evidence? They obviously aren't. They obviously can't. Concluding thoughts for the residents of Newberg, Oregon. A call to action. This entire incident is a perfect example of why critical race theory is an evil framework. Once you convince people that America is an evil country, they can use those beliefs to justify doing any illegal thing in their desire to dismantle and rebuild it. We should ban critical race theory in every publicly funded educational institution. In my opinion, teaching it to children is a form of child abuse. It poisons the mind and allows for the justification of all manner of evil. It should be banned from being taught to children, and anyone who insists on teaching it should be weeded out from our school systems, for they have evil intentions, clearly. This situation is evidence that if they are allowed to take root in our institutions, they will turn those institutions against our republic. I think it even needs to be banned in academia, too, per the government speech doctrine's ability to allow the federal, state, and municipal governments, including school boards, to deny funding to any organization that preaches anti-American values. No public funding should be spent into any universities or organization that teaches critical race theory and advocates for it as a legitimate academic field. It's just a crazy cult that utilizes the language of academics to indoctrinate people into so much madness, they will form mafias in tiny towns like Newberg, Oregon, in an effort to seize control of its local politics, so they can use the local government to force everyone else into joining their cult. But these larger issues are beyond my ability to do much about. For now, I am working to recall our city government officials who are aiding the critical race theory cultists in town in the indoctrination of children. To the lawful residents of Newberg, as I have demonstrated with my list, there's only a few hundred of these morons in this criminal cult. There is over 20,000 residents in this town district. There's no reason for this town to be controlled by them. I ask the lawful residents of Newberg to wholly reject the political campaign and give no political support to anyone who has been involved in this criminal conspiracy against elected officials. The conspirators' motivation is to push a racist, separatist movement that aims to undo 200 years of social progress. It has taken 200 years to create a country whose government is devoid of racism and delivers on the promise of the Declaration of Independence. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Whether you are a Republican or a Democrat, I call on you to fulfill your duty as an American citizen to oppose the tyranny of these criminal conspirators. This is not a partisan issue. I am a registered Democrat, and I am wholly disgusted by the actions of Democrat-affiliated activists in my hometown. They are breaking the law to obtain political power. They are brainwashing the children of our town into a racist agenda whose stated goal is to dismantle our democracy. There is no question in my mind this is their goal, as I have proven in this article by quoting her own communications to the NEED group. Guadalupe Martinez Zapata, Vice Chair of the Department of Oregon Education, wants to dismantle and rebuild our country into a racist, separatist system. This is their goal. I say they are wrong. I dare say their actions are treason against our republic. Will you let these people get away with this conspiracy against our town? Will you not stand with me and uphold our sacred duty as citizens of this country to oppose tyranny? Genuine tyranny is rare in our country. We have a duty as the inheritors of past generations of Americans' will to fight against this tyranny. I will fight them. By the time you read this, I have long since reported them to the FBI. Now you too have read my criminal complaints against their organization. I ask you to help me pluck these people by the roots out of our government with recalls and lawsuits. Use our democracy for what it was meant for, and do not allow their treachery to go unpunished. 160 years ago, America was tested during the Civil War by those dissident few who sought to dismantle it. America is tested once again. It will only endure if we rally together and oppose the tyranny of the dissident few. Recall the conspirators from office. Reject the recall of Brian Shannon. Recall Casey Kula. Recall Rick Rogers. Recall Bryce Cofield, Elise Harno, Holloman, and Stephanie Findley, and all the others. Lastly, a personal message to Ty Hardin Moore and everyone else in the NEED Mafia. I have seen everything you have organized and done. I have hundreds and hundreds of screenshots of your activity that I have used to piece together your entire network. I know what power and influence you have. I am not afraid of you. I cannot be intimidated by the likes of you. I am making it my personal mission to take down your traitorous cult. This is Newberg, Oregon. This is not your personal kingdom. You will not be creating a black separatist paradise here where everyone who is white steps aside for you to lead it. I promise you that. If you thought this small town was going to be an easy target for your criminal conspiracy, you were a fool. This is my hometown. I will not allow you to do this anymore now that I know everything about your organization and who is part of it and how it operates. Your false accusations of racism will no longer work. You and your ally accomplices are committing crimes, and I have presented the proof for everything. You should have paid better attention in law school. Your degree is obviously not worth the paper it was printed on. Tehard and more. I had previously written that you must be intelligent and that you just had some bad ideologies. I was wrong. You are legitimately an absolute moron. I have never in my life read about such stupidity in a criminal organization such as the one in which you have created in my hometown of all places. You actually organized a criminal conspiracy using a Facebook group. You are so dumb that you actually thought you were winning. You're not winning. I have not yet even begun to fight. You mess with the wrong town. The high school team may be called the Tigers, but lions sleep here too. You should never wake the lions up, and that is what you did. You have only yourselves to blame for moving to a town you thought would be easy prey to your nonsense. I don't care who you think you are. This is Newberg, Oregon. This is small town America. President Hoover came from Newberg. Who the hell are you to come here and disgrace its reputation for your selfish nonsense? I have only one final question for you all. Now who the hell do you think I am? Let this be a warning to any other idiot sheep who comes to Newberg thinking of doing similar nonsense as what these crazed sheep have done, believing that forming a large group of sheep would somehow compensate for still being sheep. Don't. I am a lion. I will reach into the darkness you hide in and drag you out into the light. Screw your law degrees. Screw your useless education degrees. Screw your wineries. Screw your bars. Screw your little stupid boutique shops and all this other crap you all brought to my town that you think entitles you to own it. Leaders of the Newberg Need Mafia, I hope you all go to prison. From the bottom of my heart, I want you to know that it was me who reported you to the feds. While you spent time trash-talking me and others in your little group, I spent hours and hours putting this all together with the aid of other residents in town who want to stop you just as much as I do. And for those of you who were born in Newberg that were swept up in their cult, shame on you. Go spend some time at our memorial park by the Veterans Monument and reflect on your actions. People from our town have died for the freedoms we enjoy today, which you have decided to participate in the subversion of. Shame on you for undermining their ultimate sacrifice by your support of a criminal enterprise to subvert our democracy. You're not warriors. They are warriors. And you have failed to uphold the legacy of our town. This town was founded by people who oppose slavery. This town has lost its sons who fought and died for liberty. It was not that long ago they paid the ultimate price for our freedoms. You will not bring tyranny and racism here and get away with it. This will defend. This is for other press, who I am sure will be picking this story up, and those in the press involved in this conspiracy who will be trying to discredit me as a means of saving their reputations. I am a semi-retired entrepreneur in digital media, president of Martel Broadcasting Systems. I was born in Newberg. I enlisted when I was 17, served 5 years of service, including a tour of duty during Operation Iraqi Freedom. I'm an honorably discharged Army veteran and a lifetime member of the VFW. I operate the men's lifestyle magazine Millennial Gentleman. This is my personal blog, and my hometown is a personal matter, so I chose this blog as the medium for this reporting. I am the descendant of men who fought in the Revolutionary War for liberty against the British, for the Union in the Civil War, against the Confederacy, and against the Axis powers in World War II. My family has lived in Newberg for nearly a century. It is my sacred duty as the inheritor of my ancestors' will to ensure tyranny does not root itself here. I am organizing a recall of the Newberg Mayor, Rick Rogers, and the city council members who have allowed this conspiracy, especially those who actively participated in its organization. I support the Newberg School Board members who voted to remove divisive anti-American political symbols from our schools, and this article is the only evidence you should need to see that decision to support the school board ban is the correct one. To those who hate what I have done, you can do your worst to discredit me. I'll do my best, and I'll win the narrative, because truth is on my side. It's not on yours. I believe in America. Some of you should start believing in it again too. The American dream is not yet dead. The eyes of history are upon us. Who will stand up and defend America with me? If you are a resident of Newberg and want to help remove the cancer from our city government by recall of the mayor, as well as the city council members and school board members involved in this nonsense, please provide me your contact information in this form so I can notify you when I file the recall, and I will provide you with the necessary signature forms to fill out. And thus ends my expose. I hope that you enjoyed it. Thank you.